program. But right now, let's bring in to the show. He's from Central Connecticut State University. He is the head coach, Adam Thomas. Adam, thanks for taking time out to be with us tonight. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. First of all, I got to ask you, how was the birthday party last week?
Actually, it is getting pushed to tomorrow due to illness and weather. So this conveniently works out to it is what it is. You know, life continues on. 5 kids, you kind of manage life as you go.
So you're a coach at home and a coach on the ice too, huh?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I consider myself a life coach, right? You know, trying to guide my kids in the right direction on top of the fact of, you know, trying to help the next generation of, let's say, good hockey players, trying to help them, you know, guide them in the right direction for school and, you know, get them to succeed as a young adults and now becoming adults at the college level. You know, I also do 16s and 18s as well in the area. So I see a lot of kids for a lot of different levels and teams.
Well, boy, you are super busy. So I am really fortunate to be able to get you on tonight. So your season came to an end this past weekend, correct?
Correct. Unfortunately, the weather stopped us from what would have been a great game against Montclair, as always. You know, it's a tough ending, especially having, you know, for the first time in my time coaching here, we actually had some seniors. So it was tough to see guys who have actually been here for the 4 years I've been here now to move on and have to give up the game that they love to move on to the greater pasture of hockey.
You know, it's amazing. To that point, Adam, you know, I've talked to coaches in all sports, you know, and I remember talking to my son who wasn't in athletics. He was in drumline. And the amount of work and the amount of practice that everybody puts in, that finality, you can prepare all you want for it, but the instant finality of it being over, that's one of the toughest things I see in athletics.
Yeah, it's tough. You know, again, there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, I have a son who's graduating high school and going to move on to college next year. So it's kind of one of those things where to us, it's just the next step. You know, knowing that he at least has a couple more years. But for some of these guys, especially some of the guys who took, you know, a gap year to play juniors for a year, and now it's, you know, the end is real for them. And, you know, we played Providence on Friday night, and let's just say we got carried by our younger guys in the first period because our older guys knew that we were playing for nothing after we were eliminated from playoffs. Mm-hmm. We were playing more of the spoiler, but like I told the boys in the locker room, the moment the competitiveness comes in, the game changes, right? We got down 1-0. We flipped the switch, came right back at them, ended up 5-5 going into overtime. You know, I put all my eggs in one basket to try to win in regulation, tired out my key guys, you know, for the last 3-4 minutes of the game, and it definitely hurt us in overtime. And they're a good program. We've always had really good games against them. But it was a tough year for us, you know, having the first time since COVID when this program almost fell apart and I took over to finally having a real competitive team. You know, losing 6 games this year by a goal definitely hurt our playoff chances as we continued. But it's been a great rebuild for me. I've really enjoyed being here as part of this program.
So what was the biggest improvement since the beginning of the year?
Well, actually, the biggest issue we had was we had catastrophic injuries at the beginning of the year. Our very first game against UConn, we lost 3 guys to season-ending injuries, one of which was our leading scorer of last year, broke his wrist on the very first shift.
Oh, my.
And so everything you practiced for and got yourself ready and all your special teams, you know, were all built, ready to go, and everything changed. So then we had to, like, completely refigure ourselves out. We had a downward spiral for 2 or 3 games as we were readjusting. You know, we had a real big freshman class, you know, this year of 15 new guys, which boosted our numbers. And some of them were great players, but it takes time to acclimate to ACHA hockey from the high school / juniors, you know, area. So once they got going, we got going. And once they bought into the systems and how I teach and how I want them to go, it was great. And the upperclassmen, you know, taught them some stuff that they really needed to be a better team, you know, but just, I mean, we only had 21 guys left at the end to dress on the last game at Providence this weekend because we ended up with 8 total losses on the season of injuries that were either season ending or we're not going to be back in time to play.
How tough is that as a coach to have to deal with that and overcome that?
I would say it is difficult, but at the same time, my first year here after COVID, we had 13 guys. We ran an ACHA team with 13 players and one goalie. No, I'm sorry, we had two goalies, but it was really like one.
Yeah.
And every year, all we focused on was getting the numbers a little bit better and rebuilding the program. Last year we finally got to 22 guys. I mean, we're playing against teams that have 100 guys try out for a program, and I'm scrapping together 22 guys and making competitive games out of it. Yeah. That's my biggest thing. This year, again, we got to 29, just under the threshold of 30. We had two goalies, so the goalies keep us competitive. I'm lucky that I get some really, really good goalies coming through this program that kind of keep us in, but, not to be mean, they're seeing 45, 50, 55 shots a night. Pucks are eventually going to go in. So,
yeah. So, you talk about, the record may not show it, but it sounds like you had a good core of young men that played tough every night, played hard every night, and were very competitive.
Yeah, I mean, we went out and we battled. We tried to win the small things, right, over and over again. With that's what I told my guys. Let's win the 5 to 10 feet by the blue line every night. Work on different situations. One of the biggest things that's really made a difference in this program for me is changing my style of coaching from a youth development skills type coach who focuses on puck possession and making better plays, and converting to what seems to be more successful in college. So like my very successful U18 program would never dump a puck in. They would literally create space and try to find small touches. But in college, it's the exact opposite. My guys needed to put the puck in deep to create opportunities to get good changes, create pressure, make defensemen turn around and lose control where the forwards were. It's just so funny when you are so used to one type of coaching. I mean, I came up as a AA, AAA coach, here in Connecticut. So I brought my systems into my college platform, and it was successful, but there were holes. And just like a player, I had to learn to adapt to this style. And now that I'm getting better at it, and I'm getting better at teaching the players, and they're buying into it, and I've had guys for a couple of years, we are starting to show success. Again, if you take any of those 6 games, you lose by a goal and you flip it, we're a plus 500 team on the season. We're looking at playing in the playoffs, and it's just a build. It's taking time. I mean, I'm an alumni of CCSU hockey. I played here all the way back when they went into the Nationals in 2001. So I remember what it was like to be a powerhouse team, in this area. So
let's talk about some of the leaders, at least on the score sheet. Anthony Romano and Brody Davidson, just to name a couple of them. What stands out with Brody, with me, Adam, is he's got 5 power play goals, or he had 5 power play goals and 3 shorties for you. He did a little bit of everything for you, along with Anthony Romano.
Yeah, so Romano being our 4th-year guy, he was here the first year I was here. He was a 200-point high school player, so he was obviously had a nose for the net, really good opportunity out of Sheehan there. So we relied on him right from the first year. I mean, he got key minutes as a freshman, and then just kept acquiring points. He's a goal scorer. He's one of those guys that you look for in the offensive zone, has a very accurate cannon of a shot, so knows what to do. A lot of our power plays were based on, figuring out how to create space for him, right? So he's always going to be that guy. But again, as you go through the years and you get into your last year, I think he could have given us a little more as we were going through, but he's at the end of his his college career, so it was a little bit heavier than it used to be, a little bit less out of shape, in that side of things. Now Brody Davidson, on the other hand, comes out of the EHL. Him and his brother Owen, both twins, played locally in Connecticut, went and played for the Bridgewater Bandits in the EHL, and then came back here locally to play, and took that EHL, that big body power type hockey, to create an opportunity to be successful. So him and his brother were dynamic, along with another player who may not show up on the stat sheet as much, but Ben Wasco, a guy who came out of playing USPHL in the picks. He ended up breaking his wrist halfway through the season. So he actually would have been just as dynamic as everybody else, and these guys made a huge impact, and they're all freshmen for me. Romano's a senior, he's moving on, but it's just, we're a very efficient power play team. I believe that stuff that I've learned from the youth side and the skill side has paid dividends. I mean, I look at some of the teams we play, and my stat sheet shows that, my teams average almost better than 40% scoring on power play, which you don't see at college hockey. I mean, you don't run into teams that run, that much of it. But my guys buy it in. We gave them 3 different power plays, and the leader of the power play basically decided what they were going to run based on what they were seeing. If the team's running a box, we run this. If they're running a diamond, we run this. If they're running pressure, we have counters to everything, because me coaching 15 years of AA, AAA hockey, I've seen most of it. So I knew how to adapt and teach. At the younger level, they don't learn that, but at the older age, they can adapt to it. So it's been a lot of fun.
Adam Thomas joining us, the head coach of Central Connecticut State University, here on the Power Play. Adam, so your season's over. When has the recruiting already started for next year? When do you take a break from it? What does your timeline look like for doing things like that?
So we've already had 4 recruit skates with our program. Ideally, being in Connecticut, people should, if they don't know, that Connecticut high school is one of the only states that doesn't allow players to double roster. So our high school kids can only play high school. They cannot play anywhere else, which means they also are not supposed to be skating with college programs while they're at their high school team. They give us, basically, if you're at the school viewing the school, you are allowed to come and skate with the team once. So you're basically given once. So what we did this year was we offered anybody who was interested in our program. We basically have a recruiting page, and we go out, and anybody who was interested came out, and we had a 50-player skate, just right after Thanksgiving, but like right before high school kicked off in Connecticut, just to see what the players look like, to kind of have some conversation. They got to talk to a lot of my freshmen now, so they can talk to them about, what it's like coming from high school to campus life. Some of the juniors guys talked about going from juniors to ACHA to kind of introduce them into the option. So we did that. And then, like even today, I had a meeting with another player from New Jersey, just meeting guys, talking to them. The good thing is we're a very big construction management school, one of the top schools in the country for that. So we really focus on connecting guys for that side of things. So, recruiting goes well. I usually see about 100 possible recruits before the season, but it comes down to school commitment. The biggest struggle being an ACHA coach is trying to offer when there really isn't much to offer. I mean, I basically, we offer them the opportunity to play competitive hockey in a competitive market with a lower tuition school. That's basically the plus we have. So we focus on, I'm getting better at understanding now that with juniors, a lot more juniors coming into the program, that you become more competitive if you draw those juniors guys in versus the high school guys. But, we're still bread and butter of high school all-state guys and stuff like that coming in. That's a lot of core of our team here in Connecticut.
What's been the biggest difference in the play at the ACHA level now as opposed to when you played?
Well, this program specifically, I will say that, so when I came here, I was a first team all-state player who, had my sights set, played, AAA hockey for a couple of years, and back then it wasn't as important as it was now, for guys playing. I came in with the mindset that I was really good. And then when you play ACHA hockey, you can think you're amazing. And then you realize that you are not, because you are still, I'm not saying that an 18-year-old male is not a man, but when you're going up against 22, 21-year-old fully developed males, like, it's a different story. I mean, it was very humbling. My first year, I worked hard every practice, and the coach didn't give me 1 minute of ice time. And I thought I was a great player. I mean, I came out of one of the best programs in this area, and I scored tons of goals in high school. And, but then it's just reality. I couldn't push around that 210-pound power forward when I'm playing him on PK, getting him better for the game. So, I learned from it. Unfortunately, school wasn't my forte. After once I hit college, I decided that the military was my calling. So I went and served for 8 years in the Marine Corps before I went back to hockey after. And, in turn, here I am, coaching where I went to school. I mean, I actually coached high school last year too for where I went to high school because they never coach. So I jumped in for a year just to help them out. So I would say it's the mentality that you think you're good until you play a lot of the best of the best. I mean, up here in New England and in our region in NECA, every team we play has literally got high school all-stars or AAA players or juniors guys. And, guys aren't ready for that. I mean, it takes time for them to adapt to the college hockey game, which is totally different.
Adam, that is such a great point because I think it holds so true today. The parents that I talk to here in Michigan and the games that I see, that is one of the things they always tell me when their kid's not playing right away. They come in as a freshman and they think that they're going to come in and play and unseat some of these third and fourth year players. And it's a kick to the ego that they got to adjust to. I don't know if that's ever going to change, Yeah,
and it's also tough when you have to look at a junior who's been here for a couple of years when the team had not a lot of bodies and he saw ice time. And now when you're finally, carrying a staff and you got a team that he moves all the way back to the 9th and 10th defenseman and he doesn't even get to dress. And you have to look at him and be honest with them. You got to have the honest conversations. I mean, I just had that conversation with one of my juniors, my only senior next year. He's my last defenseman on the roster. I said, not to be mean, but there are already 4 or 5 defensemen coming in that are better than you, and you have to make a decision. Is this where you want to be? We love your morale. We love you being a team leader in the locker room and helping the younger guys adapt to the school side and life. But when it comes to the ice time, it's just not there. And some of these guys have to swallow that pride and understand that, in their younger years, they didn't put in the time that other guys did. And the guys who put in the time and come here physically ready to play hockey do a great, and they get ice time right away. And other guys don't, and they accept that. But it is tough to tell an upperclassman, listen, it's your senior year coming. You've been here 3 years, but I'm not sure if you're going to make the roster next year. And you got to, it is tough as a coach, but you do it. You'd rather be honest than dishonest to the player.
100%. So who was your NHL team growing up?
Well, obviously, I'm old enough that the Hartford Whalers were around when I was here.
Yeah.
One of the guys that I coach with all the time, Ike Corvo, he was part of the Whalers crew. I see him every day, working at the program he is at now. After they left, a little bit of turmoil in the mix, but I eventually slightly became a Bruins fan. Watched. It's funny. My last name is Thomas. My brother is Tim Thomas. It's not the Tim Thomas. It's just a Tim Thomas. But I love using that information all the time. So I was, big around hockey when they won, in 2003. So that was in my big run of it. And then I had kids. And honestly, the time to watch professional, and people ask me all the time, oh, who's your favorite team? I'm sorry. I'm so busy between all my coaching, all my family, and scouting games and getting teams prepped that I don't even have time to watch professional hockey anymore. I just don't,
Well, if you ever need an update on it, just text me and I'll give you all the updates you want. Now that since I'm an empty nester now, I get plenty of hockey and I'm fortunate my wife loves to watch it too. So, well, Adam, this has been a lot of fun. I appreciate you taking time out of your super busy schedule to join us. I hope to have you back on next year. Good luck next year with your team and enjoy the off season and hope you have a good birthday party tomorrow.
Thank you. It's been a real pleasure. This was an opportunity to, just kind of have a conversation about college hockey. And I continue to watch every week and look forward to learning more, especially from the other side. And good luck to all the ACHA guys that are heading to the playoffs in the next couple of weeks. It's a grind to get there, but it's going to be a ton of fun.
All right. Thank you. He's Adam Thomas, the head coach of Central Connecticut State University, joining us here on the Power Play. We'll see you soon, Adam. Thank you.